Good morning. How are you? I hope that you're having an awesome day. Welcome to a reboot of the makeup collection tag. It was created a couple years ago by a fabulous YouTuber named Georgia Harris. And so I answered these questions several years ago when it first went around. So I will want to link that video up here in the cards above as well as the description box below. There are 14 questions that really are just insightful to get you thinking about your makeup collection, especially since we've had the last year and a half with 2020 and being all that has been. And so I thought it would be fun to just revisit not only how I answered, but how things have changed in the last couple of years. So if you're watching this video, consider yourself tagged. And even if you don't film videos, I am very intrigued to hear how you would respond to these questions. So feel free to leave your answers in the comments below, because I think it'd be a good conversation starter to get us really kind of talking about our makeup collection, since attitude towards makeup has changed quite dramatically in the beauty community over the last year and a half. So that's been a fascinating thing to watch. The types of products that people are gravitating towards, their behaviors toward their spending, their makeup preferences and things like that. And I'm no different. And definitely things have evolved in some areas, and then in some things I need to kind of go back and revisit and stuff like that. So like I said, all the questions will be in the description box below. Feel free to answer them. So let's do this. Question number one is, how long have you collected makeup? I really went into that in my previous video about, I've always kind of had a collection. But I think it's also important to kind of notice that over the last several years, especially through panning, it's not even about the collection for me anymore. It's when I love things, I want to surround myself with them, as any person would. You want to surround yourself with things that bring you joy, and makeup has been something that's brought me joy. But it's also a careful balancing act of realizing collecting the makeup versus hoarding. And I've spoken about this previously. What starts off as a joy, it's a very slippery slope into it creating self-destructive habits. And so panning is the way that I stay very intentional on keeping it a joyful habit versus something that controlled me like it once did in the past. And so in terms of collecting makeup, I try not to use that word when I talk about my makeup, because especially I get in the last year of not wearing makeup near as often as I used to in the past, just because we've been home for so much. Yes, it's more of a collection because it's something that I look at. It's not necessarily something that I use, but now that I'm getting back in the habit of using it again, I don't want to look at it as a collection. I want to use it as something that is positive for me to enjoy the creative process of it, but it also is something very practical for me because I feel my best when I have it on and wear it and use it and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm curious to hear how you would answer that. That takes us into question number two, is how would I describe my collection? And Georgia used words like utilitarian, practical, aesthetic, historical, if you're a person who likes to collect makeup for comparing to things that are released today. I know a lot of the larger YouTubers do that for the sake of comparisons. Sentimental would be another one, if you find yourself emotionally attached to a lot of makeup. My previous answer, I said practical, but I think that I need to argue that I would also say aesthetic, because I have noticed as I have evolved my preferences through the last couple of years specifically, I do go for an aesthetic. I want simple, clean lines. I want makeup that is clutter-free. I want my eye to easily be able to focus as I'm looking at my products, to easily be able to find what I need. I don't like to spend a lot of time searching and then end up getting lost in the shuffle of going through makeup. And so definitely products that aren't crazy loud with the packaging, products that have the wow factor in the product and not the packaging. So it's practical, because I want to be able to have accessibility to everything in my collection. I want to be able to use it. I want it to look enjoyed. I want it to function well for me. But very much it is about the aesthetic, and the less packaging, the less gimmick, the less cutesiness there is to it, the more likely I'm going to be attracted to it, if that makes sense. That takes us into question number 3, which is, are you a completionist? And originally when Georgia answered this question, even when I answered this question, she meant it in terms of like, are you the type of person that needs to have an entire set of something? Like if you buy a collection, like let's say for example, the naked palettes, you want to have all the palettes in the series. Or if you purchased the Wet n Wild Saved by the Bell collection, just throwing something off the top of my head, that means you'd want to have the eyeshadow palettes, the cheek palette, the lip products. You catch my drift. In that sense of the definition, I am not a completionist. But in the broader sense, I do consider myself one after going through 2020, because I have indulged in more eyeshadow purchases, like luxury eyeshadow purchases, that I would not have entertained before 2020. And like I said, going with the whole like completionist idea, watching YouTube, being stuck at home for so long, not to say that I'm easily influenced, but there certainly was like this void that was created in my mind with my collection, where I used that to justify trying more luxury makeup. I think that's the best way that I can explain it, because the way that I justified it was, okay, well, I've outgrown these brands over here through panning, and that's great because they just no longer intrigue me to buy their products anymore. But at the same time, now there's that space that can be filled with luxury makeup, like buying Pat McGrath or buying, Natasha Denona, and being willing to spend more money on those things, like I said, that I would not have entertained before 2020, because I just didn't want to spend that kind of money on my makeup. But at the same time, I'm a little bit more influenced to complete my collection in that regard. So yes, I'm a completionist, but not in that I have to have all the palettes in a set. We'll go with that. All right, question number 4. How do I store my makeup? And man, oh man, over the years, I have gone back and forth from needing everything out on display in acrylic drawers to having everything tucked away because I wanted things streamlined and clean. And the reality of it is a fine line, because my brain craves that organization. I need to have it so that I'm able to easily see the things that I own. But at the same time, I cannot tuck things away where they are out of sight, because they are certainly out of mind. And so it's been a little bit over a year now, but my husband and I remodeled our bathroom, and I very intentionally went through and created more vanity storage space for myself, because over the years of being in this particular house, I've had acrylic storage drawers on top of my vanity because my actual vanity drawer was really small. And then I needed to have backup storage in my master bedroom closet. And then I ran out of storage there because I had too much makeup. And so then that started spilling into storage out in my bedroom. And that entire system was not working for me, because I would do well with the things that I could see on my vanity counter, but then I would forget about all the stuff in the bedroom. And then I would see the stuff in my master closet, but then I was so focused on the capsule makeup panning that I would never get around to it. And it was just a hamster wheel of insanity. So the way that I store my makeup now is I have a much larger vanity storage that I very intentionally made deeper and wider, so that not only could I fit my everyday products, but I can also fit huge portions of my backup stash. So extra mascaras, extra lip pencils, lip products, eye pencils, things like that, so that I visually have to see it, but then I don't have the clutter on my counter. Because if you have the acrylic storage on your vanity, you know the struggle is real. It gets dusty. You have to constantly wipe it down all the time. It is a thing. And it's that mental clutter turns into physical clutter for me, because then I have to create the extra time in my day to maintain that storage, to keep it wiped down, to keep it clean so that it's not a hot mess every time I walk into my bathroom covered in dust from applying my makeup and smudges from, you know, accidentally touching it with mascara or things like that. And so everything is tucked away in my vanity drawer, but when I open that drawer to do my makeup for the day, I am always seeing everything that's in there. And so really in the last year, that's been a game changer for me to kind of create the habits of both living the minimalist dream fantasy that I have going on in my mind versus kind of the clutter bug that I can be with wanting to have the variety of my makeup collection. And that takes us into question number 5, and that is, what is my favorite thing about my collection? Honestly, I think my favorite thing is that I feel like the goal is in sight of only owning the products that I know and love. I feel like I found my staples in just about every category. I still have eyeshadow palettes from brands that I haven't tried yet, and so that's kind of the last area, if you will, that I don't specifically know, like things I would repurchase or stuff like that. But I think overall I know my collection well enough, and I know my preferences well enough that regardless of time and trends and styles, like the things that I'm going to consistently reach for, the products that I'm going to get the most use out of, so that I only fill my collection with things that I'm actually going to use versus just collecting to collect. I think that's the simplest answer. I mean, it's certainly changed the spending where I'm not acquiring as much in general, but at the same time, I'm not quite there yet. Which takes us into question number 6. What is the least favorite aspect of your collection, or an area that you would like to improve? The least favorite thing about my collection is still, I would have to say, my spending habits, because I find that I was doing really well before 2020. Simply because I was busy, I consistently had things going on between work and school and family and all this stuff. And then when everything just kind of came to a screeching halt, I was left with, okay, what do I do now? And I tended to fill that with shopping. Not just in makeup, but I mean, in general, I would buy more things that I would not have purchased otherwise. So, I mean, it's across the board, but definitely spending is an area I would like to improve, because I want to get back to where I was, where I was doing a really good job of just kind of panning makeup and moving things out of my collection versus bringing a lot of stuff in. So I think that's the best way to get to that answer, but I think I could expand on that in a later video for more discussion. Then that gets us into question 7. What is the largest category in my collection? Just at face value, I would say my eyeshadow collection, just because I like palettes, and I've gotten to a point where I accept that I like palettes, and I'm not going to go down to being a one eyeshadow palette type of person. I like having the variety, but in terms of like the largest area of my collection, I'm going to say it's got to be my backup stash, because going back to the spending question, that's where I've really noticed the boredom shopping comes in, because when I see Point Perks shopping at Ulta or taking advantage of different deals, if they're products that I already know that I love, I tend to go on and impulse buy those. And so now the backup stash is beyond the point of comfortable for me. Like, I have a A lot of things like Clinique Cleansing Balm and like Macworld lip liners and mascara, like I know I'll use those things, but at the same time, the irony is not lost on me that I'm like, girl, you gotta slow down and like quit buying for the backup stash. So that's been something, yeah, like an area I'd like to improve is the backup stash, but definitely that is the largest area because I mean, I took advantage of point perks and the birthday deal and then buying things like when you could buy one, get one 50% off. And so now I have quite a stash of things to get through. So that's going to be inspiring a project pan coming up in the future if you're interested. So then that takes us into question number 8. What is the smallest area of my collection? I am very happy to report that that has to be my lip products. And because I mean, I've gone through so many growing pains with my lip product collection because I mean, I've always loved bold lip colors. And then, you know, as I started watching YouTube, I was buying everything in sight because I wanted to try all the colors in a line. And then I ended up with a very, very large amount of lip products and I had to declutter a lot of them because they expired and that's no fun. So that was a really sobering moment in regards to my makeup spending. And then the most recent evolution, I mean, besides having masks and not being able to like really enjoy lip products when we're out in public as it is, I think that I've struck a balance there too, because I don't feel the desire to keep near as many options on hand, variety, if you will, because I know that the kind of lip products that I'm going to reach for on a daily basis are things like this. Like this is a combination of Macworld and Clinique, almost lipstick and black honey, or things like this, kind of My Lips But Better. And so what I've done is I had 2 lipstick acrylic containers that I used to have in my backup stash. And when we rebuilt the bathroom, I decided that I would put those 2 lipstick caddies in my drawer and I would not go beyond the amount that those things will hold. And I think they hold like 24 between the 2 of them. And so I narrowed down my collection to where I only kept the absolute favorite of the favorites. And I'm finally at the point where I'm not even filling that storage. And then I took another area of the drawer to basically store my lip pencils, because I finally accepted the fact that yes, I could have a stash of lip pencils, but I'm going to reach for Macworld and I'm going to reach for like 1 red lip liner, 1 berry, 1 fuchsia. And so I didn't need to have the sheer volume of what I was having before. So I'm very proud of myself. Definitely the lip products is the most practical, but at the same time, kind of the smallest area of what's going on in my collection right now. All right. Then question number 9, do I have holy grails? I don't like to use that term holy grail because companies can always decide to discontinue those products and then you're kind of back at square one realizing, okay, we either got to find a dupe or I need to find something else that I like more, this, that, and the other. But I definitely have types of products that I love. If you're interested, I can make a video on the products that I would consider my holy grail because I do have a favorite bronzer, I do have favorite eyeshadow, I have a favorite in every category across the board. So let me know in the comments if that would be of interest to you. So yes, I have holy grails, but I wouldn't be just downright disappointed if those companies decided one day to get rid of it or change the formulas or whatnot, because I could always find something else. So that wouldn't sadden me at all. Even with my Macworld lip liner, that wouldn't sadden me at all because I know that there would be something else that I could find. But yes, I do have some holy grails. So let me know if you want to see that video on things that I would put in that bag. All right, then question number 10, is my collection complete? I would say for the most part, yes. I mean, I want to get the backup stash down to more of a controllable level. But in terms of, do I feel like there are any gaps missing in my collection? No, not at this point. In fact, I mean, there are probably areas that I would like to downsize further, especially when it comes to eyeshadow, because I've been letting my hair go natural, and like the grays are starting to come in, and it's changed my preferences towards my eyeshadow, and so palettes that I may decide to keep in the future are probably going to change a little bit to incorporate more cooler tone things. So I would say there's a gap there that could become more of a thing in the future, but it's not right now. And then definitely with foundation, as my skin changes with aging and things like that, that's going to be something different. Concealer, I'm kind of getting to that point. Yeah, well, I guess I may have a little bit of a gap going on. It's not complete because I haven't found like concealer that's really doing the job on an everyday basis for me, because my skin is changing right now just with weather changes and aging and stress with all the stuff going on in reality. But I think that a lot of that will resolve itself as I get more and more back into normal routine as well. All right, and then that takes us into question number 11, and it's how often do you declutter? I declutter all the time. I just don't make it a big thing. I am the type of person that I can't make it a huge production. I need to just go in, and if I'm feeling it, I need to be in that moment. When I tend to declutter my collection is when I'm going through thinking about things that I want to pan, especially when it comes to eyeshadow looks, because then I'm thinking, okay, let's evaluate what's going on with my eyeliners that I might pair in. Are any of them dried out? Go through with the lip pencils, make sure nothing's dried out. Go through with, just things like that. It's never this overwhelming production. I don't declutter that way in my home as it is. I've learned that for me, like I need to kind of handle things as I see them, put them away as I see them, or get rid of them as I see them, because then that keeps me motivated and moving to just kind of have an overall more minimalist aesthetic around my entire home, and I treat my makeup just the same. So I guess you could say I declutter all the time. I mean, like when I'm going through and I'm like cleaning my brushes, and I'll look at the inside of my drawers and realize I probably would benefit from wiping down the containers and things like that. I'll go through and evaluate, or, I'll go through and swatch all my lip pencils on my hand and see what's dried out or whatnot. But it's never like this production of things. So, all right, then question number 12, we're almost done. I applaud you if you've made it this far. But question number 12 is, do you get envious of other collections? No, I don't get envious of other collections. I mean, and I've talked about this before as well, but I think it's kind of fascinating how a lot of people, when they film their makeup collection videos, you can hear that change in tone of their voices where it just goes from excitement to just straight up tedium. And it's always like night and day difference just in the way it's a thing. Notice that the next time you watch collection videos, just like everybody's excited, and then there's all of a sudden just this monotone that pops in. It's fascinating. So no, I don't get envious of other collections. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say I get a little bit envious of like the makeup space, like especially with the more popular YouTubers where they have an allocated like room and everything's really just bright and fresh and fun and exciting, and you feel like you're walking into a makeup store. Like that's always fun. But at the same time, I'm also kind of thinking about that's a lot of work to maintain. Would I want to maintain that? Probably not. So yes and no. I mean, when I'm in the moment of like watching a collection video, usually it's just like background noise anyway, like while I'm doing other things, just because in particular, I'm curious about watching eyeshadow declutter videos and like makeup declutter videos, because I'm always curious of what people hold on to. But no, I don't get envious of other collections. Maybe just the space of being like, that's really pretty, or if I had the space to do that, yes, I would do something similar, or no, I would do something different. But no, to each their own. What makes you happy, that's awesome. Then question number 13, who has the best collection video? I don't know. I have no idea. Who's your favorite? I mean, I just kind of go through and like when I'm in the mood to watch those types of videos, I'll just go by like recent upload. I'm not going by who had the most views or who has the best collection or whatnot. So I'm curious, who's your favorite? I mean, I think that the most go-to answer would be any of the larger YouTubers that have the massive amounts of storage behind them and the candles and the, you know, the decorations and the rugs and the, you know, all the zhuzh behind them, but I have no idea. I have no idea. Then lastly, question number 14. What is advice that you would give to someone aspiring to have a makeup collection or a new makeup collector? That's a really good question. I want to say what I said in my previous video was don't look at it as a collection because it expires. And I stand by that statement. But I also would say, like, you're not gonna figure out what you like in a single day. It's gonna take time. So my advice would be enjoy the process. Don't try to buy it all at once. Don't try to try everything all at once. You know, try to embrace maybe one trend at a time, and instead of going ham and buying scads of eyeshadow palettes to fit that trend, pick one neutral palette of something that has stellar reviews on a website or a store that you trust, and then maybe incorporate pops of color from that and do it in liner or do it in lip color or things like that, instead of trying to, you know, think like a business YouTuber where, you know, they're acquiring all this makeup, but then you're not actually going to physically use it. So I guess the best way to sum that all up would be just to take it slow. Take it slow and just enjoy the process. I guess one of the beauty tips and tricks, I mean, that we didn't have, like, growing up when we were starting to wear makeup, is we didn't have social media to teach us all these things. We had to learn on the fly and learn by watching TV and magazine ad clippings and, you know, articles on makeup and things like that. And so there was a bigger learning curve, I think, back then than there is now, where you can watch millions of reviews before you buy a product and then watch social media, you know, videos and posts and things on how to apply those things. And so, yeah, just take it slow. Just take it slow. So I appreciate you sticking with me through this entire tag. And like I said, go on and consider yourself tagged to answer these questions if you're watching this video, or answer in the comments below. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to check out my video, check out where I am. And I hope that this continues to inspire further conversation on our attitudes towards makeup and behaviors, some future videos. And like I said, you know, I mentioned a couple video ideas in here of, if you'd like to see, go on and leave me some comments below on, you know, like the Holy Grail products, the Makeup Vanity Tour, backup stash. I'm mulling over details of Project Pan I'm kind of thinking of doing for myself in the next couple of weeks. And so there's a lot going on. So I appreciate you taking time, and I look forward to catching up with you real soon. So until then, adios.